accomplish when I get done, to inspire why I write and why I hope to give you, I guess, a little energy or a little spark to write yourself. I'm 28. I am young, but I've been writing since 98 is when I started. It started usually just a pastime, like when I was in boot camp. I'd write home to my fiance at the time just to keep my creativity going, or just to keep from getting bored. I would send her letters home, just like different stories, like just stuff like that, just like stories about if I was somebody else, or just kind of just keeping up with the imagination as I was a kid, just keeping that going. But then once I got into the Navy and I started staying on watches and things like that, you'd have to stand there and just do nothing for hours and hours. So I'd take a notebook with me and I'd just start writing. I've always been a big movie fan, so that's where it started from. I'd always try to create my own story, what I always wanted to see, or what I always wanted to see in a story that I never felt that was portrayed. So I'd just write and write and write. And as I wrote, I'd always begin a story, but I'd never stick with it. I'd have like 6 or 7 different stories at just the beginnings. Like they'd do like the first couple of chapters, and they never can go much farther than that. I'd let people read and they'd be interested, but I would just lose interest and I would never stick with it. And then I had those beginnings, and then about 2004, when I started living with this girl, my girlfriend at the time, and she started reading it and she got intrigued by it, and she kept wanting me to read more. So that's when I got the motivation. Because it was like kind of like a present to her. I kept like writing it, and then I'd write a chapter and she'd read it, and I'd write the next chapter and read it. And that's actually how I finished my first book, just by trying to do it for her and just finally completing a project. And it was when I had that. It was the gratification actually completing the project, because it took a long time. It took me almost like a couple of years while I was sitting on it for more than, it was like 2 years before that, and it actually takes me about a year to write a book. Like if I sit down and with working and doing stuff like that, you have to find time, and just usually if I was babysitting, because she had a daughter at the time, and she'd be at work babysitting, that's when I'd find time, and just to occupy myself, I'd start writing. And then you just find time like that. It takes me I'd say about a year for each book that I do. Currently I was on the third one, I'm about to end that, but it was I finished 2. And I just finalized the first one. I got them all in notebook form. That's how I write. I feel like writing, I write by hand first. I just feel like that's more personal. I feel like that's how they did it in the beginning of time. That's how I do it. I just feel like it's my pen to the paper, and it's more personal that way. And then I'll go back and type it. And then it took me about a month, because I wasn't working at the time, and all I was doing, I was like, since I'm not working, I might as well keep myself busy. So I started writing and writing and writing. It took me about a month just to transfer my book to computer. So it takes a lot of time. And it's something you have to devote yourself to. If you got to devote yourself to it, you're never going to finish it. And that's what I had to do for myself. And the reason I started, when I started going to college and I got into writing class just like this, and that's when I started submitting some works, and I started getting attention, and I started getting positive feedback from what I was writing. So then that's why I kept going and going, and that's when I finally stopped, because I had an idea for a series of 7 books, and I'm currently on the 3rd, trying to finish that up, as in between all my other projects. And I went back. I was going to try just to get the 7 done, because I didn't want everybody